So I was having a conversation with a person of the gay community earlier today, and we talked about the fact that they are Christian and they go to a Christian church with a Christian pastor who is gay, and they have a first gentleman. Part of the discussion that I want us to key on in this video is the fact of how cultures appropriate the religion for its day and how tradition keeps people enslaved to the religion, because if you look back in time, you will see that your version of Christianity or Islam or whatever it is today would be called demonic or blasphemous according to those 500, 600, 700 years ago of the same ilk. But in this particular situation, we have gay people who are claiming a religion that literally tells them that they're going to hell and hates them regardless of what they do. So I hope you guys enjoy this video, and please join me on my new blog podcast. It's The Alchemy of Sex, Love, and Money. There's also my own video channel that's of the same. So what's up, everybody? How you doing? This is your Coach Renz, and I appreciate everybody for being here, all my subscribers, everybody from Patreon. I thank you guys tremendously for being here. So as I said in the introduction, having this great conversation with this person who is gay. They told me about why they think they're gay, how they became gay. We discussed their childhood. We discussed events in their lives. But one of the main things I want to talk about today, and as we talked, her and I talked about religion, is the fact that she goes to a church that is a Christian church. The pastor is gay. He's a gay man. He has a first gentleman. 80% of the congregation is gay. I'd imagine that 20% are probably gay sensitive or thinks that it's okay to be Christian and gay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and make the statement and say that I don't think, in my opinion, that a gay person should be claiming Christianity. Not because I think that Christianity is so right and that they shouldn't be doing it. I think it is so wrong because it shows a deeper level of enslavement to tradition and teachings that you should be willing to let go of. You see, as I've said before, my videos are for two types of people. One, my children. I make these videos for my kids so that if anything ever happens to me, my kids have access to their father's wisdom. Number two, these videos are made for people who are transitioning from traditional religion into thinking for themselves, to their own spirituality, to recognizing truly who they are. So we had the discussion, and I was explaining to them that throughout history, each culture has appropriated the current religion. And in this case, one of the current big religions is Christianity. And we see the gay community appropriating this religion as well in America. Now in Canada, they have outlawed any Bibles that speak against homosexuality. If the Bibles in Canada have taken out where it says that if a man sleeps with a man for the use of a woman, or is with a man for the use of a woman, then he is an abomination. That men sleeping with other men as if how they would sleep with a woman is an abomination. They've taken those out. They've taken out the ideas of Sodom and Gomorrah where the men wanted to sleep with the angels or the angelic beings. They've taken that part out. They've taken all parts that condemn homosexuality out of the Bibles in Canada. But in America, those Bibles still exist. But instead of saying, hey, this book is not for us. This is not the loving God that loves homosexuals. Because here's the deal. If you're homosexual and you profess John 3:16, it doesn't matter. You're going to hell because your lifestyle is going to send you to hell. It doesn't matter that this deacon over here who profess it is child molesting. Doesn't matter that this mother over here is money laundering. Doesn't matter that this is the drug dealer, that this is the prostitute, that this is the murderer, that this is the cheat. The thief. It doesn't matter about those people. You're gay. Those people are doing that. You're gay, but you're helping the homeless. You're helping, battered women. You're helping orphan children. You're doing all these things over here. You're feeding people in other countries where they're suffering. You're doing all that good stuff. They're not. They're cheating the society. They're stealing, killing, and murdering, robbing. You're going to hell. They go to heaven. You both believe in John 3:16, but you're going to hell. So, what we see happening, and this is a fairly large church, is the gay community is appropriating Christianity. I don't care if they appropriate Christianity. It doesn't matter to me. But what I have a hard time understanding is why appropriate something that does not like you, that is designed to hate you. Is almost in the same sense, actually not almost, is in the same sense of black people in America and South America who were taken from their natural habitat, taken from their natural culture, taken from their gods, their orishas, taken from their ancestral worship, forced to accept the religion of their oppressor, forced to teach their children of this religion, forced to only focus on the parts that tell them to be good slaves and that they will have to wait for the hereafter, for heaven, before they can join with God, who is white, forced to do that, then taught through generation after generation after generation into tradition, which is just another form of slavery. And you say it's not slavery. But as I spoke to this person, I said, why do you continue to go to a church? Why do you continue to focus on a book that says that you are an abomination to God and that no matter what you do, you go to hell? Why do you force yourself to go through that and try to justify it? And they said that, well, it's the tradition. My mama took me to church. My grandmama took me to church. I've always went to church. Church is what I know. So you were conditioned into it the same way that African ancestors were traditioned into being slaves. What is the difference? You were taken as a child. Your natural state as a child is not a belief in a religion. You were conformed to it. The natural state of the African in Africa was not in America, not in chattel slavery, but you were conformed to it. You were done so by force. Then, as a child, you grew into it, you began to justify it. So as you began generation after generation of slavery, you begin to justify your slavery by saying stupid things like sail away in ships for 400 years. Or saying things that God will come in the hereafter, that slaves be good to your master, that you can take from the foreigners slaves and pass them on for generation and generation. Your traditions that you follow today is the same way. It's the same mode, is what I told them. And they began to understand that it's the same mode. At first they were like, no, I'm not a slave. But you follow a tradition based on what somebody else gave you. Not a decision you made on yourself. That is slavery. Whether it is physical bondage of slavery or it is mental slavery, at the end of the day, it is slavery. However you look at it. And they began to understand it. They began to see it. They began to realize that they have fallen into Christianity simply because it's a tradition. And even though the tradition goes against who they really are, they still couldn't understand it. They still followed it, I should say. Why? Why would you still follow that? That's the question. If anybody has any answers, if you're of the homosexual community, why would you still follow that? Why would you still believe that this is your God? That this is the version of God in the box that they've made for you? Why would you believe that? And to make matters worse, they go to a Pentecostal church. Now, Pentecostal church teaches things like you have to speak in tongues and do the holy dance and these other spiritual gifts. But their Bible clearly states that you're not supposed to want or envy others with spiritual gifts or want spiritual gifts, but just accept the ones that God gives you. But yet they say that everybody must speak in tongue. Everybody must have the Holy Spirit, holy dancing and all that kind of stuff. So why would you follow that? Why would you do it? Makes no sense to me. But yet it does. We are human animals. The human animal at this stage of existence is more prone to follow the masses than they are to think for themselves. And that is what I wanted them to truly, truly understand, is how to think for yourself. So we went through many different scenarios and situations for them to understand how to think for themselves, from car accidents. They was in a car accident a year ago and said, God saved me. Really, so when the Hindu person is in a car accident, who saved them? When the Buddhist is in a car accident, who saved them? When the Muslim is in the car accident, who saved them? In all these cases, who saved them? If your God saved you, then their God saved them, because you're giving your God the credit. They're giving their God the credit. So if all of y'all was in the car together, then who saved you? Who saved you? Or could it just be the law of cause and effect? Based on the speed and the impact and the positioning and everything that has to go in with it, that determines whether or not you live or die. If they were hit by a train, matter of fact, and I'm not making that up, they showed me the pictures. If the train was going 30 miles per hour faster, then they would have been dead. They would have died. No one would have saved them. It wouldn't have been the thing where I guess God just wasn't ready for me. It wouldn't have been nothing like that. No, you got hit by a train speeding at 65 miles per hour, you're dead. But if you get hit by a train speeding at 30 miles per hour, you might survive that train collision. Depending upon where the train hits you. If it hits the front end of the car and just spins you off the tracks, you'll probably survive. But if it hits the middle compartment of the car, you're probably going to die. If it hits the back end of the car, you'll probably survive. It depends upon where the train impacts you as to whether or not you live or die. What type of train is it? What does the front end of the train look like? How is it built? That could provide information as to whether or not you live or die. Cause and effect is at play. But we talked about all these things. We talked about how cause and effect really has more to do with your life and where your situation is than anything else. Cause and effect, the decisions that you make. Not the decisions some God is making all over top of you that's playing you like Pinocchio. No, you make decisions. You make decisions. We actually dug into her homosexuality. Now, I know for some people who are homosexual, they're going to say that it was always born that way. And that's one of the things she said to me. I was always born that way, but I knew a little bit more about her because we had previous discussions. And I said that you said you was always born, that you always looked at females and thought that females were more attractive. That's not necessarily out of the norm. Most people when they were kids thought that way. If they actually went deep into their subconscious and was real, didn't worry about what society may say, didn't worry about the guilt or the framework that society talks about, most boys hung out with other boys when they was younger because we like being around other boys. It is not because we like boys sexually. I'm a boy. I want to play with other boys. I want to do crazy stuff and jump off stuff with other boys. That's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. I didn't want to play with girls. Girls were boring and girls were soft and they just want to play with dolls or they didn't want to jump off stuff. That's why I'm a boy. So I want to hang out with other boys. But then later on, when you're gay, you justify. I've always been gay because I always wanted to hang out with other boys and I always thought that they was cute. You start to justify. You start to create. In the same way you justify your religion, you start to create reasons and rationales. So, but because I knew more, I said, no, tell me about your experience with men. She said, well, my father used to beat me, abuse me at a high level. If I did anything, if I was sitting in a chair wrong, he would beat me. If I didn't bring his drink at the right temperature, he would beat me. If I spoke while he was watching certain shows, he would beat me. He would beat his mother. And then he would beat my mom. He would beat her for the same reasons, same rationales. And then later on, he molested me. And then later on, his brother, my uncle, molested me. And then I was raped by a cousin. I asked her, have you ever had a positive experience with a man? Have a man ever showed you any kind of love and affection? Have he ever just hugged you? Have you ever had a man just hug you for the pure purpose of just saying, your worth is great. You're worth a lot. You're decent. Have a man ever hugged you that way and just showed you that kind of kindness and courtesy? And she said, no, that's never happened to her. Never happened to her. She's in her 30s. That has never happened. So I would say that many of you will agree, and as I told her, are you sure that you did not become gay simply because you never known a man to show you any kindness, any courtesy, anything that resembles love, and that the only person that you found love from was your mom and then other women, and therefore you justify that you're gay because you develop a conditioning against men? And by the time it was over, crying, she admitted that. And for the first time, I hugged her. I hugged her and showed her that a man can be gentle, a man can be kind, a man can show you affection without having a sexual reasoning behind it. And I hugged her for about 20 minutes and she held me real tight. I can tell that she's never felt that before from a man. And when it was after a while, my legs started feeling numb. I was like, okay, you gotta let go. But I did recommend that she engage in hug therapy. That hug therapy is a good thing, that she can understand that everybody's not trying to take from her. But she had conditioned herself into hating men. into thinking that she could never be with a man. Let me not say hating men, but not being with a man. That men would just treat her dirty, treat her dastardly. And yes, she has had other men who try to talk to her, and they talk rudely to her and abruptly to her, trying to get with her, because guys have, oh God, please come and join the Alchemy of Love, Sex, and Money, gentlemen, so that I can teach you how to treat women, talk to women, deal with women. Please come. But I digress. We went on that journey. And on that journey, I have to say, why do we subject ourselves to the will of other people? Christianity was not made for the Western version of Christianity. It's not made for you. For not made for African Americans. It's just not. Let's just be plain about that. It's just not made for you. It was designed specifically as each generation and culture appropriated it. It doesn't matter that it started in Mesopotamia, Judea, or Egypt. It didn't matter that that information was pulled from different cultures to create it. The westernized version, the Roman version of Christianity, even the Protestant version is a Romanized version, is not made for people of non-European descent. But yet, you've conditioned yourself through generations of loving it, of believing it, of justifying it. Black people are the first ones to say that the race of Jesus doesn't matter. If the race of Jesus doesn't matter, then why do you have all these white Jesuses? Why was it a problem when Jet Magazine published a black Jesus? Why is it a problem if they portrayed Jesus as black? You were the first one to say it doesn't matter, but yet you don't see white people putting black Jesuses in their church. You don't see white people putting black Jesus on the silver screen. That's not what you see. But you've been conditioned to say that race doesn't matter. That it is the love of God that matters. Now, we talked about the Trinity and who is God and what God is not. We talked about a whole bunch of things that I'll do in subsequent videos. But I want you guys to really, those who are breaking away from traditional religion, go back and look at your conditioning. Look at all the things that moved you to there, and you'll understand deeper the law of cause and effect. That for every effect there is a cause, and for every cause there is an effect. And if something is not supportive of you, you have no problem. There is no reason for you to feel guilt or shame for leaving and walking away. You should leave. You should walk away. You should walk into a place where you are loved for being you. We will be starting the Hermetic Learning Center, the Temple of Learning, whatever we're going to call it, the Temple of Learning more like it. We're going to start the Temple of Learning here in Atlanta in the next month or so. And I'm telling you guys, it is going to be a place where you can just learn. You can discover more about yourself. Will we teach Hermetic? Sure. Will we teach Meta-Nature? Sure. Will we teach the Tao? Sure. Will we teach these different esoteric ways of thinking that cause you to look inside self? Because one of the things her and I talked about was that the kingdom of God is inside you and outside you. It's all around you. The kingdom of hell is inside you and outside you. It's all around you. You create your own universe. You manifest into this existence what it is that you desire. And I want to show you how to manifest for yourself your own heaven in this existence, so that when you leave this existence, whether you go to the animal plane, the mineral plane, the plant plane, or the spiritual plane, or the dimensional plane forward, wherever the hell you go, wherever your subconscious decides is the best place for you to have the next spiritual experience, you are equipped to do so. That if you look at it from the point of view of Jacob's ladder, spirits ascending and descending, that you choose where you go. No one can choose where you go. People can come on this and down here and comment, you're going to hell, you're teaching these people all this evil stuff, you're going to hell. They can come on here and tell me that all day. I don't care. Because the thing about it is that there is no hell for Lorenzo. Coach Renz will never go to hell. Coach Renz will never again live in hell on earth. Coach Renz will never experience hell another day, second, a moment in his existence for now throughout all time, because there is no such thing as a time. But he will never experience it because his mind has been elevated to the point where he understands that heaven and hell is of my own creation. And it doesn't matter how much money I have or don't have, I have heaven. It doesn't matter how much love I have or don't have. I have heaven because I have enough love for myself. It doesn't matter what family and friends are around me. I have enough for myself. I decide. If I need new family and friends, I can easily go find them and I can attract them to me because my gravity well is strong. It's stronger than anything you can put out. And that's what I'm going to teach people how to do. How to make your gravity well so strong that you attract everything in your life that's going to make heaven for you. Because you got to have your heaven. And we're not worried about other people and what they want to have and what they want to say about you, what they want to put on you, what they want to cast over you. Because guess what? They have no power. Yeah, I take their little thing that said no weapon formed against me shall prosper. But see, as long as you're wandering around thinking that you got to have a savior outside yourself to bring you heaven, then there are weapons that are formed against you all the time, which is why most of you who are not free thinkers, who are not thinking for yourself, who do not understand how to open your chakras, are living in constant hell. You're constantly going up and down. You have a good day, then a bad day. You have a great year, then a horrible year. You're constantly going through that because you haven't realized that the true understanding of no weapon formed against me shall prosper has nothing to do with anything outside you, but have something to do with everything inside you. Inside you. That Thomas said that the kingdom is inside you and outside you. That great philosophers have always said to know thyself is to know God. That one of the early Christian church fathers, Irenaeus, said that God came down in the form of man to show man how man can become God. So that God became man so that man can become God. That's what one of your church fathers, the one you get your canons from, said. Yeah, you skip that part, don't you? Irenaeus, go look him up. He became the Bishop of Alexandria after the Council of Nicaea. It was about 30 years after the Council of Nicaea. But go check that out. Go look that up. But you need to realize that just as you follow and understand the way of the Tao, that you find that it is the inner man, the inner divinity that must be brought out and that you must live by that. That the moment that you give the way a name, that it no longer becomes the way. So the moment you say it's Christianity, that is Yahweh, Jehovah, Allah, that is any of these names, Krishna, Brahma, the moment you say that, it is no longer the way. It is no longer the creator. That all the universal laws have been placed here for you to be able to manifest in your life what it is you choose, to have your own heaven now and to be able to create your heaven as you go forward into the next emanation. If you choose to come back to this planet and exist as a man or a woman, black, white, green, purple, to exist in any form whatsoever, that you exist in a state of heaven, no matter what it is. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're learning. So I appreciate you guys. We're going to further discuss. We're going to further have videos about this discussion that I had. And I look forward to even more discussion. If you have a comment for a video or an idea for a video, please comment at the bottom of this video what your ideas are, what you would like to discuss when it comes to the hermetics or alchemy or magic or anything of that nature. Now, if you want to talk about sex, love, and money, you got to go over to my other page. I'll put a link to that one at the bottom of this. And please join me on Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock on the Alchemy of Sex, Love, and Money at blogtalkradio.com. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And continue to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. I appreciate you guys a lot. So remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself. Why? Because your greatness is non-negotiable.